seeing that we have a full house, and they probably aren't are anxious to see the public forum, why don't we begin? I'll make a few brief comments. One of the knock-on effects of building the new elementary school was we had an old elementary school. The building around 40 years old. The building was in good shape. It was a municipal asset paid for by taxpayer dollars. And in my opinion, it was the responsibility of the selectmen to find a reasonable use for a valuable municipal asset. There was a proposal to use Pompo as a make minimal changes to Pompo and use it as a COA. That went to town meeting and was defeated. Rather than the Board of Selectmen were able to resist the temptation to line up and run the same play again. We took a step back. We formed an oversight committee, and the idea that we came up with is an idea that solves one of the problems we have with Pompo. One of the problems you have with Pompo is it's a very big building. It's hard to find one use that's going to be a reasonable use for all of it. The proposal that the oversight committee came forward with was to use part of Pompo as a fire station, part of it as enhanced space for the Council on Aging and Recreation, and part of it for food pantry, and another part for a function room that could be available for use for reasonable town functions. So, where are we? At the last town meeting, we approved putting in money to do design of a that would be required to enhance Pompo to be a fire station, COA, community center. And I think the rest, the next part of the presentation, I'll ask our architect, Kathy Kang of Kang Associates, to give you an overview of where we are with that right now.
So I'm going to walk you through the building on KPK and describe what comes in this, what we've come up with in this project. So the vision is to combine the fire station and the community center at the Pompo School, as you all know. So I want to say that this has taken a process. We've worked very diligently with a lot of people. There's been a lot of people around town, as well as professional municipal staff that have been involved, and there's been a lot of input into this project. We have not designed this in isolation at all. We've really tried to design it to meet the specific needs of the people who are going to be there, as well as satisfy the community in what they want to see there. So to start off with, and first and foremost, there's been a building committee that has provided oversight and guidance through the whole process, and they've been very, very involved, and working very hard. The committee consists of 3 selectmen, and I might leave some people out here, but a finance committee representative, a capital planning committee representative, the fire chief, and the building commissioner also is an associate member. So there have been a lot of good input and guidance from at that level, the building committee. Then we also we had direct conversations with the COA director the recreation director, the fire chief, as well as the town administrator, to talk about space needs, how they were gonna use the building, and what specifically will work for them. Then we also had input from other community groups, both town and nonprofit groups. The food pantry first and foremost, because they potentially will be using some space in there. So we've talked at length with the food pantry, fitting in all their spaces that they need. The highway department has reviewed the site plan. The police chief has reviewed the site plan also in terms of security, from the point of view of security. Stow TV has also reviewed the plan in terms of, possibly televising some meetings there in the future if it becomes a potential place for a meeting, for public meeting. Information technology, the consultant for the Stow's information technology systems also participated and gave us some input as to what they'd like to see, so it would make easy work to network all the computers. We've also done a lot of testing and exploration of the existing building and site, so that we know what the conditions are and what it will support. The septic system failed, so a new septic system is required. We tested the soils, and luckily the soils are very good for a new septic system, so that's good. We tested for hazardous materials and found some asbestos. We dug up some slab, rather the fire chief cut open a part of the existing slab so that we could look at the soils underneath to make sure it was compacted properly to support a new slab for the fire apparatus. We looked at the piping, the sanitary piping that runs under the slab, because we wanted to make sure, if we're gonna put this money in it, that it can be reused and it will last another 50 years, which we did do. We had a company clean it out, and then we actually cut open the slab again and looked at a section of the pipe to make sure there was enough thickness in the pipe, so everything was good. So we did all those due diligence things. As well as we've gone through and when I say we, I mean my design team as well as the building committee, everybody. We've gone through a permitting process, extensive permitting process, so have gotten approvals from, we've gotten ZBA variances on some dimensional variances in the parking lot. We've received Conservation Commission approval because it is in a wetlands area. We've received Planning Board approval of the site plan. We've received approval by the Board of Health for the septic design and the commercial kitchen design. And we've also received DEP approval to start the process for a new well, drilling and testing for a new well. So, as you can see, a lot has been done, and a lot of information background information has been put into this design. And in terms of design goals, this is a simple slide, but we got the clear message from the building committee and everybody else in town. This building is going to be practical, it's going to be functional, it's going to be durable and maintenance, easy to maintain, not use a lot of energy, try to be energy efficient, but not extravagant. There's nothing extravagant in this plan. It really is the most basic functional design that we could come up with. Okay, to start off the site, like I said, there is going to have to be a new septic system. The new septic system is located pretty much the only place it can be, which is approximately where the old septic system is, but it's bigger. So it will be under the new parking lot right here. So all the parking lot is going to have to get dug up and a new parking lot put in. Then the well, the current well, which is right there, is too close to the existing building by DEP rules. So it was grandfathered when there wasn't any change in use, but now that we are changing the use, we are required to put in a new well that meets the, flow that this use will have, water flow that is, as well as have the, proper setbacks to, neighbors, to buildings, to other wells. So a new well will be, is proposed to be constructed in this corner, in the south corner of the, southwest corner of the playing field, up in the back of the property. So that location has been approved by DEP. So how this site is going to work, this is the site layout. So down here is Great Road, just to orient you, this is Great Road. And what we'll have, what this development will have is two entries, two curb cuts. The one easterly curb cut will be the public entry to this facility. The westerly curb cut will only be for fire department staff. So I'm gonna just cover this one first. So the westerly entry will be only for firefighters coming in, as well as staff coming in, really mostly all emergency use. So firefighters will be coming in, and they have some parking back here as well as over here. And the fire trucks will be housed in this corner of the building, and they will be coming out of we have two overhead garages, so they'll be coming around the corner like this. This is the fire trucks, and go exiting this way. And the firefighters will be entering the building on this wall and into the garage. So, but the public entry is on the easterly side of the site. And even if you have business at the fire station, you want to get a berm permit or something like that, you will need to go through this entry. No public comes through this entry. So everybody comes through here, and there's a main parking lot right here, and especially created for the COA and the community center, we have a drop-off. We tried to get the parking as close to their entry as possible. We have a drop-off so that somebody can drop somebody off and they don't have to walk all the way from back here. There's handicap parking right in the front, and then there's two entrances to the building. On the right-hand side is the community center entrance, and on the left-hand side is the fire station. So those are the two entrances public entrances into the building. Then we have sidewalks all around the building, into the back, and then we have a little small parking lot with a driveway that goes along the easterly property line with a small parking lot back here. This parking lot will serve primarily the food pantry that has its separate entrance in the back, as well as the potential tenant space in the future in this quadrant of the building. So, and also the sidewalks will help people who are using the playing fields, on the weekends. If this parking lot is filled and you're parked here, you can walk safely to the back. So that's how the site works. And the building itself is divided into really 3 sections. The blue section is the fire station, all of the fire station. This brown section is actually unused. We were very careful, the building committee and the designers were very careful to stay out of this section, to use as much space as needed, but no more. And then this section, which is a combination of colors, is the community center. The green is the community center, but these are all connected. Community center, the purple is the food pantry, and you see they have their back entrance here. And then the orange is the function room, which will be shared by not just COA and the rec department, but by anybody who may want to use it from the town. Potentially it could be rented out. So that's the key to the floor plan. then we're gonna look at each individual section. So this lower left-hand corner is the fire station, this portion of the building. These are the apparatus bays we talked about. They would, on an emergency, the fire trucks would go out these two overhead doors and around and towards the front of the site. And then the blue area is staff only. Again, just for the firefighters. It includes their day room, turnout lockers, some bunk rooms, some showers and bathrooms and things like that. The green area is administrative offices. And the brown area is visitors areas. So we've tried to, there's security at each of these intersections of the colored areas. So there's a security lock here between the staff and the public. There's a security lock here between the administration and the public. So the public would either come in here to see somebody, apply for a permit, or they need some questions answered, they can come through here. And then there's a lobby for them to wait. There's a second entrance here, mostly for after hours, because there's a training room that can be used after hours for both fire or during hours. You know, if the fire chief envisions doing some fire department type trainings as well as some public type trainings. How to change your smoke detectors, how to, those things kind of things, public type of trainings also. So that's the fire station. And then the other side, with the main entrance here, is the community center. And again, this is color coded. Let's do the food pantry in the back. Is very straightforward. Their entrance is in the back. They requested a separate entrance so that their clients can have a certain amount of privacy. So they have a separate entrance in the back, directly from the outside. Then the community center is entered through the front, and we have, again, the blue area are staff areas, and the brown areas are the public areas. They're the activity rooms and lobbies and things like that. And the green is the function room. Again, it's just highlighted in a different color. So if you were to, a senior, and you have some activities during the day, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 activity rooms of different sizes, 2 small ones and 2 bigger ones. There's a little drop-in center here, sort of like a little living room. There's a receptionist, a little gift shop, and staff are readily available. So if you have it, want to talk to the COA director, if you need to, it's right. They're right here. The nurse will be right there, and any kind of visiting services could be in these 2 rooms. This is the recreation department office. So they are also close to the entrance, because their activities will probably be in the afternoon, after 4. COA is at 8 to 4, and rec will probably be from 4 onward. So they will also share these activity rooms, these 4 activity rooms, for whatever their programs are. And of course, both rec and COA will be using this large function room with a commercial kitchen for, larger activities or those things that involve food. So that's the community center. In addition to those functions, we're also doing some infrastructure improvements. You're going to be spending a lot of money on this building. You don't want to revisit it again. You want to bring it up to current code. We want to make it more energy efficient, make it easy to maintain. So at the exterior, what I call exterior envelope, we are adding insulation underneath the existing roof. We're doing some masonry repairs. You can see some of the masonry is just in very poor shape. We're providing new windows, because the existing windows are single pane steel windows. There's no thermal break. There's just the heat just goes right out those windows. The structure, we are adding seismic bracing, which is required by code. We are also, this is good in this weather, we're also reinforcing some of the low roofs so that it will be code compliant in terms of snow loading. And the building systems, we are adding an entirely new sprinkler system. This is and that is required by code. A new plumbing systems. We have to replace all the fixtures. They're little tiny fixtures in there right now. We have to. We're putting in high efficiency HVAC systems, high efficiency boilers, new electrical service and systems. LED lighting throughout. In addition, we are making this building usable as a temporary shelter. That was also a request by several groups in the community. So there will be a full capacity generator. So the fire station already needs a generator, but this generator will actually take care of the entire building so that the community center can be a temporary shelter. There will be a commercial kitchen that will be able to be used during a emergency, not emergency, but a temporary, condition. And there is a handicap shower facility. There is also there will be air conditioning in the function room, so that it can be used as a cooling center during, a temporary loss of power or something. So those are some of the highlights of the infrastructure improvements. So last is the cost. So roughly, what we have, when we do a project, what we have are hard costs and soft costs. I know some of you might have heard these terms before, but just to clarify for you, hard costs are really the cost of the construction. This would be what we send out in a package for contractors to bid on, and this is what we expect it to come back at, approximately $8.5 million. And then we carry a construction contingency of approximately 5%. And what that is for unforeseen conditions. In this, despite our exploratories, there's still possibility, we don't know some things, especially underground. If we start digging under the septic system, there might be something buried there. Somebody might have used it to bury refrigerators. I've seen that before. So there's all kinds of things that could be uncovered during construction. So the construction contingency is for that. Then there are what we call soft costs. Soft costs would be other costs of the project that the general contractor, you don't pay the general contractor for, but you pay other people for. So design and engineering services, that would be our design team as well as consultants. It also includes all the exploratory people, the people who looked at did the hazmat inspection, the people who looked at the piping with cameras and all that. So it includes all those people. Professional services, and this is covered through construction. It's through construction to the end of construction. Then we have also additional professional services during construction that are not design and engineering. This is testing materials, testing the concrete, testing the soil, compaction. It also includes a commissioning agent and a clerk of the works. And the clerk of the works is really there to have eyes and ears and to watch out for the interests of the town. Then we have furniture, what we call FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And this is anything that needs to be put in the project to complete it, but you don't necessarily want the general contractor to provide it for you. This includes furniture. There's a water treatment system that we're anticipating will be necessary. And then we have project expenses. That includes utility back charges. That means what Hudson Light's going to charge you for putting in a new transformer and primary service. What Verizon might charge for, you know, their service to put in that. Permit fees, the inspectors have to be paid. And then printing costs, as well as some other things. Printing costs, means printing bid sets for the general contractor to be able to look at and then develop their bid from looking at that. So the total cost altogether is $9.9 million.
Does anyone here have comments or questions for the architect?
Okay, if you could, I just since a couple of us on the board, we're not privy to a lot of this. Can you explain what you mean by commercial kitchen? I think that's a little bit of you understand it, but
Right.
can
Okay,
help
the
us
basic differences in terms of cost, really, is that we have to have a grease trap. So there's going to be a grease trap put into outside on the site. It's going to be outside near the kitchen here. A very grease trap that will separate, you know, the grease from the waste water. There's going to be, we have to have a ventilation hood that's over the stove, not your ordinary, you know, little range hood that you have at home, and a 3-compartment sink. Those are the.
Is it a Board of Health designation? Is it a term of art? When you say commercial kitchen, everybody
Yes.
in the business knows those components?
Yes, right.
Okay, thank you.
There's a Board of Health kind of designation there.
Right.
Following up on that, are you planning to use the current kitchen, or are you going to revise that and maybe could you please show the people here where you plan to site the kitchen?
The kitchen will be in the same location it is now, except, in the building, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the kitchen, I don't have the layout for the kitchen, but.
No, of course not, but the general area where it is now?
Yeah, it is generally in this area. Right now, there's like 2 little rooms in the back. One's a janitor's closet, and I think the other
Yeah.
one's some kind of storage area.
Generator.
Oh, is it the generator? Okay, the generator. Okay, so the generator has to go outside now. The size of it and all that, it just has to go outside. It can't be inside the building. And so we're removing those 2 walls so that and then taking those 2 rooms over so that the kitchen is bigger than what it is right now. It's a
Okay.
small kitchen. It's still not going to be a huge kitchen, but there will be new equipment and like I said, all the range hood, grease trap, 3-bowl sink, as well as, they will be using the COA has some kitchen equipment that is salvaged from other projects.
From the old center school.
From the old center school, and we are augmenting that equipment with some new equipment that they don't have. So that's where it is.
If you-
Yeah.
I think you ought to let them know that we're gonna be all gas, it won't be electric.
No, it won't be electric.
One of the big things with doing a commercial kitchen, even though it was a little more expensive than otherwise, is given the big function area that we've got, we felt it would enhance the rentability as well as allow it to be better used as a meal site.
Yeah. I mean, reality is, I think the Board of Health would not have allowed us to do anything but, because reality is, I think, right, I mean, at the Pompo school, it was essentially a commercial kitchen, but they didn't have the grease trap and the 3-bowl sink. I mean, they were essentially using it that way. In fact, when we tested the septic system, and Craig, I think, turned on the water in the kitchen, it just disappeared. I mean, we're not sure where it went. Because it didn't show up in the septic. We never found it. So we don't know where they connected it to. So, you know.
I just,
Yeah.
I'm not asking for for rationale, just an
Yeah.
explanation.
Right.
So, but to let the people know that
Right.
in this town that the kitchen equipment is not serviceable for the new needs entirely. We're going to salvage some, but
Right.
we have to add some new ones.
Right.
I have a few more, but I can, but only if the chairs.
No, go.
Will the tenant space be available for storage by rec or for rec?
We have put at their request as well as the COA, we have put a little door here into the, as well as for the food pantry, we added a door here for some storage in the future tenant space. If that future tenant space gets to be used developed in the future, they'll have to find some other space for storage.
Well, that's a problem for another day.
Right.
The visiting area in the fire department, can that be reserved at night for other Stow community groups, public meetings?
My understanding from the chief was yes.
The training area?
Yeah.
What has been designated as training area?
On the left, yes. Yeah, that's, that was somewhat how we had separated it. And it's definitely our intention of holding regular programs also, internally doing night programs, public ed, doing CPR, just public offerings.
Now, I know that in a number of public safety buildings in other communities, they have rooms available for public
Yep,
groups.
and that's somewhat that was the actual concept of that design on that outer wall with an exterior door, so that they wouldn't be going through the common core of the operation so that it would make the ease of use for just about any other function.
Good. Now, going back to the outside of the building and the grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I'm assuming the public and the fire department staff entries are also the exits?
You mean emergency exits or just?
No, just exits. I mean, where the cars go in, they're also going to come out.
Oh, yes, two-way traffic. you mean,
Okay.
yeah.
And where are they oriented to the entry to Pompo right now?
The existing curb cut is right around here.
Right about the sign, we laid that out when we walked that through. That's
Yeah, if you
right
look-
about where you see the sign is where.
If you see
Yeah.
it here,
Yeah.
I think we're moving the fire station entrance just a little bit over this way.
Good.
Yeah.
The people across the way have always had problems at night with people driving out. And now it doesn't seem like it'll be people's automobile headlights will be going right into their living room window.
Yeah, we had actually offered, at one point they requested some screening.
Vegetation screening.
Vegetation across the street, but then they decided they didn't want it. So,
But it seems like the reorienting of the entries and exits will solve a lot of that. And I just have, just a few more. Because of the mixed use, are you going to have some kind of a barrier between, you should go back to the last slide, I think, for
Okay.
my purposes. Are you going to have some kind of a barrier between the fire department's egress
area,
there
yeah.
and the play areas, the playground areas?
Oh, yes. There's a chain link fence that goes around here.
Okay.
There's with a gate here, so that if, for some reason you need to access through here, you can. But this line here, I don't know if you can see it, is a black chain link fence. And then at some point maybe around here or something, it changes into a guardrail that goes around. So yes,
There's currently a,
playground,
Yeah,
the
what's
play
gonna
structure, that's going to be demolished.
okay. And that was are there going to be, you said that there are showers, handicap showers for emergency use?
Well, no, just general use. I
Okay,
mean,
where
yeah.
are they?
Well, the fire department has their own showers.
I understand.
Yeah.
I meant for the community
For the
center, of
community
course.
center, there is a single bathroom here that has a roll-in shower and a toilet and sink. Now, so that will be able to be used in emergencies, but also the COA requested it for, they like to use, hose off wheelchairs that they lend out and other kinds of equipment, and it's easier for them if they have a shower kind of a situation instead of trying to, wash it in some kind of, I don't know, in a sink or something, with a sponge. So, as well as this would be, for any kind of accidents or anything,
Yes.
Those are toilets in the middle too, aren't they?
Yeah,
just-
there's also public toilets here, there's public toilets here, so,
Okay.
okay.
And lastly, was there any thought to solar panels on this structure?
No.
Okay. Is there a reason?
Well, I think it would add to the cost considerably, yeah, so that's something for a number of different reasons,
I'm going to leave any follow-up to that one to Arnie.
Okay.
One other thought on that, I know there was conversation much earlier into this that the roof is not expected for the lifetime of this facility. It is one of the things that we aren't addressing, as we've talked about, that has a lot of life left to it, and we didn't feel like it was, through the committee, didn't feel like it was a need to replace it at this point. And at that point, if you put a solar array on, what is the additional cost above and beyond just the solar array of replacing the roof? Say it'd be 15 years down the road or 20 years down the road also. Well, I know that was just some of the conversations we had when we first.
Yeah, I mean, my concern about solar, a couple of different things is that, and maybe you'll know better, but solar for PV, the technology isn't quite there yet in terms of payback. Solar for domestic water, my understanding, it does pay back, at least for residences. I'm not sure about a facility like this. But my other concerns are, again, you're adding load to the roof. We're not reinforcing the high roof. It just passes in terms of loading. The low roof we have to reinforce because of snowdrift, because it's we'll get snow up against the high roof. And then thirdly, besides replacing the roof, we're trying to avoid as much touching the existing roof because there's asbestos underneath it. There's a layer of built-up roofing underneath the rubber that's all asbestos. So the expense to replace this roof, it will be a very expensive proposition.
And when do you expect that?
You're at 10 years into a
10
roof
years.
that's about 20 years expected life.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the fact that the building commission and the architect considered solar energy, but I'm still going to leave follow-up to Mr. Collins.
Well, I could comment briefly on the financial aspect. One of the issues for doing solar on a municipal building in Stow is that since it's a municipal building, it doesn't qualify for the 30% federal tax credit or the state tax credit.
That's
We've
true.
looked at that.
I could get it though. That's what I understand, that the designers could do it.
There's special rules in a municipal light plan
Yeah.
service area. So it makes it more difficult to get a good payback period
Right.
for a municipal building, school building
Mhm.
in this town versus a residential building
Right.
or a business.
Right.
Are there any further questions for the architect?
On that same
Yes.
issue about the solar, my neighbor has it on the ground,
That's
so it
possible.
doesn't take the roof,
Yeah, but as you can see with the site plan, I mean, there's really
no room.
no room. I mean, the site is just packed.
We barely squeaked in the parking spaces we needed.
Yeah. I mean, it really is packed.
What is the public parking space count?
I have that for you, hang on. I knew that would come up. I have notes. Okay, parking area, there's 21 in the back parking lot and 93 in the front. And then there's 23 for for staff, fire department only. So there's 23 between this area and this area, and 21 back here, and then 93 in the front.
Are there any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, I just had a question on the recreation component of it. Is that, what's sort of the capacity for that? And is that planned to sort of, for all age groups from sort of preschool, early childhood? Was there a vision?
Can we have
Or-
address that question after Rec presents?
Okay, they're represented. I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure for the space at least, how much space is
Okay. Is there anything else?
Just one question.
Yes.
So I guess what is the response, or I'm sure you thought about it, if someone were to say the true cost of this project, you might want to include the idea that since you're using an existing building, and 10 years down the road, you have an issue with asbestos in your roof, that, you know, I know you're not going to include it in the project cost, but the true reflection of what this is ultimately going to cost in losing this building, there should be something in there to, I know it's tough to nail down a number, it's not easy at all, but I'm
It's
just
not
wondering
hard
what
to
the
nail down a
response.
number.
Okay, well, I guess.
I don't have it at the top of my head, but, you know, it wouldn't be hard to give you a number. But
Well,
what-
has that been discussed, or has there been a number thrown out, is it, you know, it's just.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, the range was probably 600,000 current dollars, no time value of money included, plus, so 650 to 7. But it's difficult with the time value of money because you don't know. I'm a little optimistic. I think we'll get more than 10 years out of it. So it's hard.
Okay, no, that's about as close to, yeah.
And
Looking
the
for-
real importance here, one of the primary interests and goals of all of the committees since this effort started was to minimize current dollar costs because our debt schedule is so overburdened. So we're buying time in large measure. That single item alone was a budget buster, and because we're comfortable after inspection by the building inspector and making repairs to it, that we're gonna get, 10+ years out of it, and it enables us to come through the debt schedule annually that the taxpayers can afford.
Nice.
I'm not sure if this is the right part of the presentation to ask about this. I have a question about potential impact on the use of the town hall.
Bill?
I've been driving an incremental effort for the last year or two, and I speak for myself, I've shared this with the public and the selectmen, and I think there may be a general agreement with it. I know the building inspector, to reduce the use of town hall. Where part of this process we've got 2 offices that the rec director's office more specifically, and the cemetery director's office are in the town hall. The air conditions there are not good. We've had it tested. The boilers, the burners, lack of insulation, that building, my druthers is to have it a seasonal building over time. So this project gets those offices out of there. One's going down the road, and the other will occupy, my own thoughts, the basement here. That building, without significant improvements to insulation, it costs us more to heat that building than any other building in town. It's just not efficient and cost effective. We've got to reduce our use of that building. So for those reasons, plus the function room and some of those activities rooms can host groups that are currently using the town hall. And it's my hope and expectation, once we get started, everybody gets a feel of the use of the spaces that they have for staff, that we begin to move some of the programs down there, especially the larger ones. I know the AA is one of the largest, moving them down to the function room. But anyway, we're having those discussions, but my interest is in beginning to use that less on a day-to-day basis. I think it would be a great historical society. I think it would be a great crafts and arts center.
The historical significance of the building is still there, and we want to continue to maintain it for that purpose, but get specialized and not routine, but infrequent use out of it. Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I'd like to thank Kavy, and I'd also like to ask Chief Landry to make a few comments about the problems he has with his current fire station and how he feels this fire station will address those problems.
Should I leave these
Yes.
slides up? Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in the past, and we've had a few meetings, but just to summarize and keep this fairly quick. It's amazing Jim's not here pushing us, but just mainly over time we've expressed the concept that we've outgrown our fire station. The need is there, spatial needs are there. Structurally, we've had the building looked at. It does not meet the snow loads it needs. We're having issues with settling of the foundation and wall cracking that truly have been a concern for the department and as a piece of the infrastructure for the community. So we feel like the need for the structure is obvious to at least the internal organization and through some testing that has been done and some professionals have come in and actually looked at the structure. Moving forward, and I look at it as a fire department, but also as being on the fire station committee and also this combined committee, looking forward to this building. I think it's going to meet all of our needs in the future. It's going to essentially, right now, the way we're looking at it, it is being designed that's going to offer us the ability to offer public education in the situation we don't. It's going to offer us the opportunities to do some internal training that we have to reach outside of our organization now to do, just for the fact of having the spatial needs. Our organization has changed so much since the 60s when that was built. We were just doing our statistics and numbers for town report this morning, and we're just a shy under 1,000 calls a year right now is what we're doing. We have staffing there 24 hours a day now. We run an ambulance that wasn't part of this system. Along with an ambulance is an abundance of paperwork. Along with anything nowadays, there's an abundance of office and paperwork that justifies everything that we're doing and works in. So I just wanted to reinforce to the public that this facility truly will meet all our needs currently and in the future of the Stow Fire Department, that foreseen through what we've looked at. So other than that, I just looking forward to a project moving forward.
Chief?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
You say, just for, again, for the information for the public and all of us, you say it's used 24 hours a day now. Bunk areas or sleeping areas, how many people are over there overnight?
Right now, we staff it with 2 members on duty. Our officers are actually, God bless them, they are on an on-call basis, but the majority of them actually stay in our station just to add to the efficiency of our organization. They do that on their own, and they do a very good job at it. But so for the majority of the time, there is 3 people staffing the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
When you talk about future needs, and nobody knows, can predict now what we're going to look like 50 years from now when we have a whole new cast of characters dealing with these issues. But if the town grows a lot, so we have to go to significant increase in staffing 24 hours, will this accommodate that in the future?
The existing footprint accommodates, and what I've done is I've addressed it when I talk about the paid staffing that's there and what we're doing. And even in the design, we have 3 bunk rooms. Just the other night in the storm, we had storm coverage, but above and beyond, we have such a committed group of people. I had 9 or 10 people at one point in the building. They go up there anticipating that there's going to be a need for them. So even this footprint right now meets those needs. And that's what we were looking at, was designing a station for, we are primarily a call department, you know, an on-call basis. And those people commit a lot. And by this facility, it's giving them the locations. Right now, they sleep on cots and couches if they volunteer their time and they stay up there. This facility will meet those, even existing
Just
situations.
one other question, I know it passes along. One of the deficiencies in the current station, I remember hearing a lot of discussion about, was the current method of refilling the air tanks. Can you go over that with what the existing problem is now, and where is that going to be accomplished in the
Well,
new
what
structure?
we have right now in our footprint is we have just the apparatus bay area, and then we have three office spaces, really, three in a closet that's built into that, which was the old police station back in 1963. And there's a mezzanine up above them, which is the living quarters. It has the bunks, a combination of the bunk rooms, the kitchen, the training room, and the living room facility for the people that are staying there 24 hours a day. All of those locations have been divided in this new design. In that apparatus space is where we store our turnout gear, which is, it adds to the concept of environmental hazards, because the carcinogens from the diesel exhaust get onto turnout gear. And these guys are putting that on, and they're breathing in the cancer-causing agents that's part of their gear. This design puts an independent room that's ventilated, that has the fire gear in, and she has,
Right here.
Kathy has the two arrows there. That's where the on-call firefighters would park. They come in two doors there, they go through the gear room
This is
for
the
the
gear
most
room.
efficient way of getting on the apparatus. So every single piece of this, even, it's amazing that utilizing an existing footprint became so efficient when we truly looked at a layout. And I give that to Kathy, because her preliminary plans laid that out really well from the beginning.
Well, but to answer
Yeah.
your question, this room here is for filling the tanks.
Yep.
And then-
So that's isolated.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yes,
get to.
we
If
pulled
you
the
see
side
those
over,
four
yeah.
rooms that are off the
Yeah,
base,
1, 2.
we've actually designed those to meet the needs, along with the gear room. What we did was we took everything that's in our bay area that's exposed to all of the apparatus, and, you know, I have pictures, if anybody was at the town meeting for the design and development of the tanker that's in the back corner is actually, I think it was 1.5 feet off of the cascade system. It's a $60,000 air filling station that you're backing a truck 1.5 feet away from. And the people have to function in that area. That's where we fill the bottles after a fire when the apparatus is coming down. All four of those rooms that are off the base, the two in the
These
rear and the
two.
two on the
Yeah.
side, those are designated as EMS supply closets, SCBA filling stations. The mechanics room, we have
Right
a
here.
on-duty daytime.
Yeah.
One of our firefighters during the day is designated as the department mechanic. He has his own personal tools in the building, and they're in a closet right now. But stock for filters, we do all our own maintenance on the equipment and stuff in-house, so there's a major cost savings to that. And the other closet is for all our hazmat and EMS supply,
Right.
hazmat and technical rescue supplies
Right.
that are on the outside.
There's
Those
no-
are all things
and,
that are in
I
place.
recollect that there's no on-site fuel storage. Is that correct?
No.
For the apparatus?
No, we utilize the highway barn.
Thank you.
Jim?
Just a little bit of history. I've been a resident of Stow since 1952. I remember when the school burnt down. And within a week, after the school burnt down, they came in with dozers, filled the hole in with all the debris, threw some fill on top of it. Eventually, they poured a slab. And I've been in the fire station, and it's a miracle to this day why that hasn't buckled in the middle. The slab is just, back there was 3 inches with maybe some wrought iron thrown into it to reinforce it. So I think the fire station is definitely something that the town should support. And I'm also for the community center. I think that'd be a great addition.
What a surprise.
What a surprise, huh?
Are there any further questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief. Kristen, could you kind of cover some of the same material, tell us some of the problems COA has now, and how you think this building can address.
Sure.
My name's Kristen Donovan. I'm the chair of the Council on Aging. And I also want to thank the Highway Department because my kids went to school today. So they're getting a little bored with my crafts and dog and pony show this week. I'm the chair of the Council on Aging, and our mission statement is that we try to help seniors stay in their houses as long as is safely possible. We provide resources for seniors, educational support, as well as social services and social activities for them. In the space that we're in now, we're in about 1,200 square feet downstairs. You can check it on your way out. We service 1,500 seniors in that space right now. We also have a lot of our activities that are off-site, so we utilize churches, the town hall across the street, a really cute art studio down the road. We are the largest social service in town. We provide fuel assistance, food stamps, and durable medical equipment. We help seniors transition from hospital stays home into their environments. We work collaboratively with the fire department, keeping their seniors' houses safe and checking fire detectors and CO2 detectors with Project Safe. We also work with the police department. They come in and many times give lectures and talks on ways to not get involved with scams that are targeting seniors. And we've had some police that come in and have taught some of our seniors some self-defense methods, which was really a fun project. So we would utilize this new building. We'd be very happy. We're very pleased with the committee's project because they have really looked and appreciated what we do at the Council on Aging and understand our needs and our space needs. We would be using the offices for confidential meetings with seniors. Right now we have one office that 3 of our staff members share, so confidentiality is very difficult for us. So we have our meeting spaces for that. We also, because we have our exercise classes and other classes off-site, we would have everything under one roof, so it would be, we'd better be able to serve seniors. We also run a little food pantry at the Stow COA where we have 3 days a week food that comes in from Shaw's, and we'd be able to collaborate with the food pantry there.
Stop and Shop.
Stop and Shop, I'm sorry, Stop and Shop. And we'd be very happy to work with the Recreation Department. We will be utilizing the building from 8 to 4, and then after 4 o'clock, the Recreation Department will be using the building. We like to run intergenerational projects, so it'll be a natural fit for us to be using the same spaces. And the large space for the facility room there, the function room. We host a lot of parties, and right now we have to limit those parties to 20 and 30 guests, but now we'd be able to have big giant bashes. So we're happy about that too. So I'm available for any questions you have about our programming or our space and how we use our space now and how this would help us in the future. But we ask for your support on this project so that we can do our jobs better in helping seniors in town, some of you and some of your neighbors. So thank you so much.
No comments or questions? Yes?
One question, just for, I know it's not necessarily related to, but is the town social worker, just realized that person hasn't been, I know they do a lot of that work. Is there a place where would they be?
Right there, yeah.
Yes.
She's in our department. Right there. That's the town social worker office.
Okay. There are no further questions for Kristen. Laura, could you talk a little bit about how this building would work for you?
I'm Laura Greeno. I'm the recreation director for the town. This layout, this project will work great for the recreation department because we currently don't really have a home. We're running programs out of the town hall as well, so we're very limited on space and what we can do there. As Mr. Ridley said, this is it's a historical building, so it's hard for us to run art programs and have kids running all around when there's that beautiful quilt in the town hall. We don't want to disturb. So really that is the only space that we have. We utilize the schools minimally because they have their own activities going on. We use the churches as well, and we try to do most of our activities in the spring, summer, and fall outdoors. We don't have, so our biggest concerns are we don't have any office space, we need storage space, and we need programming space. And this will meet the rec department's needs for that. There's plenty of space to share with the COA. We want to do some programs, intergenerational programs as well with them. It's a good fit for our kids to be near the fire station, to do safety programs and so on. And again, a lot of our programs people go out of town for, and adult education programs and so on. We'd like to offer some of them as well. And to answer your question, because you may ask it again, I plan on as continuing to try to hit every age group. We try to help with the seniors too, but they handle that wonderfully. So we'll stick with preschool to adults, and continue to offer programs and more. And we'll have plenty of space to do that. Any questions?
Laura, with the building having a more robust use during the day, is there going to be any conflict with those that are coming in to use the rec field and back? I heard one time that you were thinking about coming in from Harvard Road. Is that on the
I
table?
don't think that's, as far as I know, it isn't on the table, but they have, and Katie's done a great job of putting sidewalks in, and chain link fences, so that there won't be any interaction between the fire station and the recreation department.
But with 92 parking spaces out front.
Yeah, we don't typically use the space until after 4 o'clock. So the seniors would be gone. There'd be plenty of employees. A lot of employees would gonna be me, and we'd use the back park and on the weekends. And COA doesn't do much on the weekends, so I think we'd have adequate space. Any other questions?
Jim?
Yeah. The open area that is tenant or whatever, will the rec department, if they need space during the day, say it was a rainy day, would that be opened up to them for use?
Do you want me to answer? Or do you want to answer?
Go ahead.
Okay. As of right now, I mean, Craig could probably answer it too. It's not going to be set up for that in any way. It's more going to be right now for storage, and I don't anticipate the COA using the function room every single day of the week. For our camp, we currently do go out of town when we have bad weather days, but there's another little project going on right now, a Pine Bluff project, that will help alleviate some of that. And if we did have to come in, we only had to go out of town 3 times last year for bad weather days. And I'm sure with talking with Allison that we can work something out to
Is there any solid reason why you couldn't use that?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Yeah.
Actually, that space is not really suitable for occupancy. I mean, it's just strictly for storage.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to have any occupants in there. It's not going to be heated. We're just going to keep the heating level to make sure nothing freezes. And it's not really a finished space in any respect.
Okay.
I mean, for storage, fine. Activities, I wouldn't want to put anybody in there.
Right. We plan to, the plan is to remove the asbestos in there on the floor, but we weren't gonna put in a new floor, so.
I figured that question's gonna come up at town meeting,
Right. So,
I think, anyway.
One of the benefits of this approach and using the building as chair of the oversight committee was something that I felt was important. This 10,000 square feet, it is not dedicated for any specific future yet. The market study we did said that's a potential use, but 10,000 square feet is a large piece. Subdivided interior space, maybe taking 2/3, I'm just giving you my own personal opinion. Market improves, the market's not good around here now. Several years into this, say it's 3 to 5 years, dust settles here, we get a better idea of the nature and extent of our needs and our uses. So that 10,000 square feet, or a good portion of it, serves to be able to satisfy that need if we feel it's necessary. we're not going to put, I seriously doubt the community's going to spend a lot of money to improve that space for commercial venture unless it's built for somebody who's already said they've got interest in it. So we've got some time to decide whether some of that 10,000 square feet could be for our use. Right off the top of the head, storage, for example, the fire station's gone. But it gives us the flexibility of making a future determination about whether we have needs for it before we go out and spend money to try to bring a client in. So it may be mixed use in the future.
I'm just throwing questions out that I think will probably come up at town meeting.
Well, that's my answer.
Okay.
Are there any further questions for Laura? Thank you, Laura, very much. Steve, could you say something about the food pantry and how the building would work for the food pantry?
Be glad to, Charlie. My name is Steve Dungan. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Stow Food Pantry. Moving the pantry to Pompo has several major benefits, not the least of which is to really improve the efficiency of the operation. You may not know right now that although the pantry itself operates out of First Parish Church, we have food and other items stored in 2 other locations in town. We actually have volunteers whose sole role is to get in the car and move tuna fish and just peanut butter, back and forth across 117. So, basically, we're looking to really ramp up the efficiency of the way we operate. Having everything under one roof will be a tremendous boost, in my humble opinion. Also, right now, the quarters at the First Parish Church are extremely tight. We trip over each other in some cases because we're operating out of closets, basically. That's the way it works out. So we're very excited about this. I think it will be a great boost for the food pantry, a great boost for Stow. It also will put, as others have alluded, will put us right next to the COA, which also has some role in distributing food we get donated by other area supermarkets and so on. So it's a good plan. We're very thrilled with it and looking forward to occupying the space, hopefully by the end of next year.
Are you going to, by any chance, have any refrigeration
Yes.
capability there?
Yes.
Right.
We have to. We store. We give out yogurt and other, cheese and sort of stuff has to be refrigerated. So that's part of the plan.
Whatever you say. Steve, is this going to be big enough for you and your anticipated needs and uses?
I think so. The benefit of the space at Pompo is it's open. There are no walls or things dividing the space up into segments like we have right now. It's actually less total square footage than we have at First Parish Church. But I think the open design will solve that problem to a great extent. So I'm confident it'll work out.
And do you think you're going to have, for the users and people you service, it's going to be more confidential because you're coming around from the to the back of the building
That's
to enter?
the plan.
And you're comfortable with that? Thank you.
Just, I'm assuming that the need, food pantry is kind of cyclical with the economy, but overall, how many clients are you helping service now, on average?
Well, to your first point, Don, it's really not cyclical. It goes on the whole year round.
No, I know it never goes away, but just overall ballpark numbers of people you're helping.
It operates twice a month, and clients are allowed to come once a month. Right now, we service between 35 and 50 families per pantry, so probably close to 100 or so a month.
Are these all Stow residents, or
No,
is it?
they're not.
No.
The pantries in Stow and the surrounding towns freely support residents from both their own town and from other towns. There's a network of food pantries that basically supports the area population.
But do you see this, going back to my question about fire needs in the future, that this should be sufficient to some period down the road to 10, 20 years?
That's a tough call, Don. I've been on this food pantry now for a couple of years, and basically the number of clients per pantry is pretty static. And we've been through a rough economic period too, so it's hard to say what's going to happen 10 years down the road.
again, if there's additional space use needs, we've got 10,000 square feet, whether it's for fire, or for the pantry, or for storage, and other things. I mean, that's the benefit of this
Thank you.
proposal.
Are there any other questions concerning food pantry? Thank you, Steve. Bill, could you walk through us a bit about the finances of the project?
I've been running debt financing scenarios for a period of time, probably too many of them. My primary interest is in trying to unload as great an amount of debt as we can at that inflection point. I'm using a science term now, it's not accurate, but that very point where we reach the bend in the curve, the peak before. And what I'm trying to do is flatten that curve out. And so what I had mentioned to you at the last forum is that I'll be proposing basically a 4-year ban, a 25-year term on roughly $9.2 million deaded out, plus or minus. And that's under the laws and rules of financing, that's as good as it gets for us. What it does is in the year 2020, which would be otherwise the apex of that peak for debt, we're going to realize with a 4-year ban instead of a 3-year ban.
Can you just specify what a ban is?
It's temporary borrowing before the permanent bond anticipation note it's called, and essentially we can get 4 years on this project, and that's what I've done here. And what it will do in the year 2020, it will net save us about $200,000 on that year's debt payment. That's a large number. And in fact, under the 4-year ban, the 2020 payment will be a little less than the year before it. So we've almost flattened that curve out. So that's essentially, and I think as I mentioned to you before, the tax impact will be about $228 a year on the average home at 428, I think is the number I had at that point, which is the current year average home value. And the debt schedule we have now, the year in 2019 will unload some debt for the Stow property purchase, but the big one is what drops off for us in 2020 is the Hale School payment. And so
Flag Hill drops off about that time, don't they?
yes, Flag Hill. I said stated Snow. It's Flag Hill purchase, which is about 190.
Just, Bill, so you're mentioning the figure that will come in when you go to the permanent bond issue. What's the transit? What are the years in between then? On the ban payments, what are we looking at, the impact for the taxpayers?
Well,
leading up to
the first year in 2016, presuming the schedule we're on, interest-only payment of $3,800. It'll get lost in the averaging. Okay, $17,000 the next year, $94,000 of interest only the third year. Then we have to pay a principal and interest in 4 to get that 4-year, and that will take us about $248,000. That year will be the total debt payment. The town's total debt payment will be $2,369,000. The next year, that first full year of principal and interest, the total debt payment will be $2,320,000. Under a 3-year ban note, it would have been $2,258,000. But because of the higher net the year before, an extra 60, that wouldn't have been there under the 3-year. That 258 becomes about 250 with 60 and 58. So we're going to net save $200,000 on the town's total annual debt payment under a 4-year ban and a 25-year note. And that was, from the beginning, what we were trying to do was to take that spike out of that pivot year.
Are there any comments or questions concerning the finances?
I'm
Yes.
assuming there's no state or federal help with this.
I'm not sure. I mean, a grant program of some kind?
Any kind of income.
Stow, the difficulty Stow faces is that many grant programs, whether they be for fire stations or block grants, and it's income eligibility. We're outside those. We never qualified for most of those programs. I don't know of any specific program right now for it where we would. There is a low interest, long-term loan through rural financing, but again, that's income eligible. Most of them now, for good reason. If your community is relatively wealthy, they've got somewhere else they can put the money for people that really need it and can't pay it. So Stow is generally on its own, and we are in this case for sure. But
I believe that Chief McLaughlin had gone out looking to try to get some grants when they were available, and they just kept getting passed over for them, probably.
well, even in those cases, most of those for fire stations and public safety buildings, they had income eligibility for the the community that was applying. You had to be within 200% of the low median household income of the state or that district you're in. That's generally the case for most of these large grant, even loan programs, and that's true of DEP's wastewater programs and all the rest, generally speaking.
Could you just comment on the 9.9 as it compares to the previous defeated fire station standalone, plus the project just to put in minimal improvements for Council on Aging, but the total package of what those would have provided versus what we're doing now?
Well, I mean, that minimum improvement to Pompo code improvements, meeting code, so that COA by itself could move in, plus the standalone fire station, even at the reduced square footage from 17. As you know, the initial cost estimate for that larger station was nowhere close to reality when we finally got into it. The consulting firm that had provided that, I call it a drive-by, but it was nowhere close. So that was going to be 12 or 13 million, reduced down to 14,000 square feet plus or minus, plus that minimum was probably $1 million more than what we're getting for, if you combine the two, we're getting 26,000 square feet of improved building.
And if we did nothing with Pompo, we still spend, what, just to maintain it?
About 50,000 plus or minus just to keep the heat so the pipes don't freeze in the winter, and O&M costs that the building inspector, facility manager has gone through. Craig did work up an O&M cost, probably sharing it with the community. We both looked at it. And the net increase of taking the counseling on aging from here down there, the other offices, together with the fire station, we're estimating an O&M cost of roughly 150. But if you net out the cost of O&M and heating and utilities for the fire station and other things, we're down to, and what Pompo was otherwise, we're down to $88,000 a year net increase for 36,000 square feet of functional building.
Is it going to require any additional maintenance staffing for this project?
Well, what's in my budget coming up, and it's not just because of this, but the town's facility management needs have exceeded the resources we've had now for several years. We've been dragging a leg along and trying to get more out of less. And so in my budget tonight, there is what's being requested by the facility manager, and I'll probably be supporting, is an assistant facility manager part-time position for next year before this goes online. All the library needs that we've had, capital projects, they don't have anybody qualified. Craig has been doing it. What you've just seen recently with regard to snow clearing and other things, we've got a growing list of needs that haven't been met, and this will add to it. So, but part of the O&M cost includes custodial services, O&M for repairs and all the rest in that figure that we just mentioned.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions concerning finances?
Just one. I suppose that there is a cost that would be absorbed by the town if we didn't use Pompo. We were caught up with a constant year-to-year dilemma of what to do with it. I know the term wasting asset is an accounting term, but a structure like this would not last indefinitely.
No, it wouldn't. And if you didn't have a functional use for it, then continuing to spend 50 or 60 grand a year, and then if the boilers went down or there was a leak in the water system when you had to expend large sums of money, that 50 grand becomes, in a spike year, 100, 150. And if you've got no use for it and it's vacant, I mean, that's about as inefficient and cost ineffective as you could get. So then you talk about demolishing it, and the demolition costs were huge with the asbestos and other things. Over time, I don't know a better choice than what's been made here to make a functional use of a structurally sound building over a long period of time for needs that we have, immediate needs that we have.
Should be talking to the public.
I do. I talk to them. That's what I think we're on. I think we're on TV.
Are there any last questions? Well, I'd like to, those of you who came for the forum, I'd like to thank you for attending. And stick around and you can watch the rest of our meeting if you like.